This is how to make one gigantic slice of the bay chocolate molten lava cake. I made this one for my brother's birthday and he absolutely loved it. You will need all of these ingredients. First, I'm slicing the butter so that it melts more easily in the microwave. It was a bit too hard to cut all of it, so I started cracking the 2 eggs instead. I live in a health-conscious household, but birthdays are my genuine excuse to bake a cake. Fun fact, I've actually never repeated the same birthday cake recipe. Don't you just love getting creative? Now I'm adding the dark brown sugar. It's always sticky like an unrefined civilian, so it needs a push to be useful. Feel free to double or even quadruple the number of ingredients depending on how many you will need to feed. If you can get your hands on some raw honey, then please do. That's what I'm now adding to this cake batter. You'll see me scraping every last drop because honey's liquid gold, hard earned by bees and hard bought by me. Now that the butter has come up to room temperature, I'm going to cut up the remaining block into smaller pieces. Then I'm going to give the egg, sugar, honey mix a whisk. Technically, you could save a washing up step by making the chocolate ganache topping first, but the problem with that is that you have to be well prepared to allow for the cooling time before it can be whisked. You'll see what I mean a bit later. Now back to that egg sugar mixture. What I normally do is I start at low speed so that it doesn't splash everywhere, and then once it's settled, it's started to stick better, then I will take it up to the maximum speed. Now I'm scooping up the butter to melt it in the microwave for half a minute on high power. It's already softened at room temperature, so it doesn't need more than that. A healthier way to melt the butter though would be to place the cup in a bowl of boiling water. It's been raining heavily all day today, despite it being summer technically. Many cultures see rain as a symbol of abundance, cleansing and blessing though. So I told my brother it's good luck for his birthday. So this is how the butter looks after half a minute in the microwave, and I don't need to mix that because remember it was softened at room temperature before I put it into the microwave. So it's already really soft. I can put it directly into that batter mixture of sugar and eggs. For the vast majority of time, I actually don't follow recipes to a T, and I like to add my own creative twist. I've also been baking and cooking for now so long that I tend to eyeball ingredients and not measure everything out. I dissolve some coffee granules in boiling water. This is me trying to show you how much coffee I've added to that cup and failing miserably. But you can add as much as you want. I just add a little bit. It's just to enhance the chocolate flavour of the cake. Even 1 or 2 teaspoons of hot water is enough to dissolve that coffee. Now it's time to add the self-raising flour and the cocoa powder to the cake batter. Add both of them together to a sieve to sieve through. I want my cake to be dense, almost like a brownie, so I'm not going to add any baking powder or baking soda to this. Oh, a word of advice, if you have the same problem that I do, which is incessant sneezing, if you're exposed to flour particles in the air, then I would really recommend that you use a face mask for this step, where you're emptying the flour into the sieve, because I did not today and I was sneezing like crazy. So I would really recommend that you try that out using a face mask while you're doing this. I have a frequency healing device called a Aha Halo, which I put on, and you'll see me wearing it later in the video. And that helped me to get my sneezing under control because I put on the sinus and nasal program. I've been using this device for many months and it works a treat. So if you're interested, feel free to use my discount code or my affiliate link. It's in the description box below. Coming back to the sieving, you could actually do this in a much neater way by using a spoon, but I just used my fingers at that moment. I then added a pinch of Himalayan pink salt, a very big pinch. Then I added some chocolate chips. My family and I love dark chocolate, so we use dark chocolate everything. Cocoa powder, dark chocolate chips, and dark chocolate, which I use in the topping. If you don't like dark chocolate, then you can use milk chocolate or white chocolate as you prefer. And you know what? You don't actually have to put the chocolate chips or chocolate in. You can just use a cocoa powder. Once you've mixed your cake batter until it's just mixed, so don't over mix it, then it's time to line your oven-proof dish with baking paper. I normally put some cuts into the baking paper so that the corners will fit in better into the dish. Otherwise, I just can't get it to fit in. I'm sure there's a better way. If you know a better way, please do tell me. But this is how I do it. I just put cuts. You do have to be careful that with the cake batter, if you need it to be a smooth corner, then just make sure the corner is smooth in the baking dish. My oven heats up really quickly, so I don't do this step earlier in the process. But if yours takes a long time, then you might want to preheat the oven first, and you can do that to 175 degrees C. Place your cake tin onto the middle shelf. Onto the middle of that middle shelf, and then set your oven to about 22 minutes for it to cook through, or you can do it according to the instruction manual for your oven. I wanted a gooey middle like a molten lava, so I left it to bake for less, but it was still baked through. It was just gooey in the middle. If you don't want that, if you want a fudgy mixture or you want it to be more cakey, then you just leave it for longer in the oven. Next, I'm pouring some double cream into a bowl. I'm only using about half of that pot. If I used a little bit more chocolate than I used in this recipe, then I could actually have left that mixture in the refrigerator and made truffles out of it. Now it's time to break up the chocolate squares and add them to the double cream. Although I haven't made the bay chocolate cake, I have made the bay chocolate and I have made chocolate ganache and truffles. So in a way, I'm actually using the skills that I've already got from these other experiences that I have of making other recipes to recycle and use in this recipe. And to be honest, I do love the freedom of not having to follow a recipe from A to Z. So I've still got about half a bar of chocolate that I can save for snacking or for another recipe. Now it's time to heat up this mixture. This dark chocolate melted really easily, so all it needed was just a minute in the microwave. But if you're doubling up the recipe, then you might actually need to heat it for longer. It's best to heat it for just a minute at a time though, so heat it up for a minute, then take it out, stir, and then put it back in for another minute, rather than heating it up for 2-3 minutes in a row, because it might boil over and spill into your microwave. And it will also heat unevenly that way. Since these oven gloves were last washed, I now feel that I'm putting on boxing gloves whenever I put them on. But make sure you put some oven mitts on when you take out the cake from the oven. If there's a little jiggle in the cake when you take it out, no, that's normal for this type of cake. I've left it to cool on the cooling rack on the side, you can see on the side of the screen. And in the meantime, I'm cutting the Kataifi. This part feels like a haircut, doesn't it? Personally, I find that it actually toasts better when you cut it into smaller pieces. And I just like that toasted, smaller texture better than ripping it apart with my fingers. So that's why I do it like this. But if you don't mind, then you can do it just with your fingers if you find that easier. But you just might find that the pieces might not get as small as they will if you cut them. Once I'm happy with how finely it's been cut, then I'll put it all into a bowl. I must say, I really do love the tradition of birthdays. It's just so nice to be able to surprise somebody, to do all of this preparation work and make some effort and planning to make someone's day truly memorable. Now I'm adding about a tablespoon of ghee, but if you don't have ghee, you can just use melted butter. I know some people don't do it like this. They don't mix it by hand. They just put it straight into the pan and just put the butter in the pan before adding the Kataifi. But I prefer to do it like this just to make sure that it's all evenly coated. I wash my hands a million times when I'm cooking or baking, but if you prefer, you can use gloves, as I know this part is quite messy. If you're not using a non-stick pan, then you can coat the surface of your pan with some butter or oil. Then you just fry that until it's toasted. It will take about 5 to 10 minutes to fully toast that, depending on the heat level that you're using. I use a high heat setting initially, and then I bring it down once it starts to toast, so that I can add the tahini that I'm adding right now. I did add a bit more tahini than I would have liked to. I just wanted to finish the jar. And it was fine. It was still good, but you can always add less if you don't like the taste of tahini, if you find it too strong. I was actually using a particular strong one here. It was a dark version of normal tahini. It was like more intense, but it was still fine. Then I added pistachio cream and then about 1.5 teaspoons of pomegranate molasses, but this is totally optional. It just gives that mixture a bit of tartness. Then you take out the chocolate ganache from the fridge and whisk it on high speed just until it gets stiff and it's no longer runny. First time round, I actually didn't cool it in the refrigerator and it didn't whisk, so then I put it in the refrigerator and then it was able to whisk to the point of stiffness. I'm now piling on the Kataifi mixture on top. I just realized when watching this back that I actually didn't leave this to cool down fully, and the fact that the cream which I added on top, the ganache, didn't melt is amazing. You could actually add a layer of melted chocolate underneath this Kataifi just to help the Kataifi stick a bit better, but otherwise you can just press it firmly into the top of that cake so that it sticks. Now I'm piling on the chocolate ganache topping, and you can see some parts where it's not mixed very well at the bottom of that mixer. So you can just mix it a little bit while you're putting it on top and it should be fine. I thought I'd finish it off with a bit of cocoa powder dusting just to make it look a little bit more fancy. And this is the end result. This is how it looks. I think it looks good for a big slice of cake. Just to let you know, I do actually care about aesthetics. This was the one that I made for my different brother's birthday, his last birthday, and I thought this came out pretty good and everybody really liked this. This was more like a brownie cake batter mixture. So a bit different to what I did for the bay chocolate cake recipe, which was more gooey in the middle. But that was also very tasty. Then my mum and I thought we'd decorate up the house a little bit so that, you know, my brother comes into a proper surprise. But he walked in a bit sooner than we expected him to. Happy birthday!
Wait 1 second, let me go back.
Lighting the candles here super fast. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Mandy. Happy birthday to you. Oh, these are all like falling here.
Wow, thank you so much.
Yay, finally. Hip hip.
Hooray!
Hip hip. He gave me a big bear hug after this.
Yay!
So, how do I cook it?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
Oh, we need to get a plate.
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about.
A nod of approval coming from my bougie brother.
The coffee table should be like this.
Same as our island in our kitchen.
That's on behalf of some falafels,
Oh, thank you.
Oh, that's very
no
kind.
problem. The makmour and cucumber and yogurt.
Oh, thank you.
I need to make some space.
If you need the help.
Sorry.
Stuff.
Thank you.
Wow.
Add some more bread as well on this side.
Amazing.
Very excited. Thank you so much. I think your idea, Mum, was right to
People want me to make vlogs.
टॉप के रेस्टोरेंट में लेके जाते थे टॉप रेस्टोरेंट
This sausage is the best. This is hands down the best kibbeh I've ever had. And that's why you can't see it. I ate it before I could film it. Sorry. This is what you do in a rainy city. You run.